thank you guys for being here this morning. I know that time is your most valuable asset, so the fact that you guys are here says something about you. What also says something about you is the fact that you guys are here out of the tens of thousands of agents in our markets and area. So I've been told that I'm in a room of millionaires and aspiring millionaires, I believe, right? So I believe that I am in good company. Before I get started, I want to thank Letty. I want to thank everyone who has put this event together. If this is your first D4 conference, you are in for a treat. I also want to thank anyone, well, first of all, I would be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity to thank anyone that's in the military or who has family in the military. I want to start every one of my presentations like that. So if you guys would stand up, whether you're in the military, have served, or you have a family member in the military, we want to make sure that we give them a big round of applause. Go ahead, please. Thank you guys for your service and for your sacrifices. And it is because of you, your families, the sacrifices that you guys make that we get to enjoy days like today and events like this. So I am the man who needs no introduction. And I don't say that arrogantly. I say that because what I've done up to this point and everything that I am up to this point is of no importance or value to you. What is important to you is what I can help you guys do going forward after today. Do you agree? Yes. Now, some of the people who know me, they say, Neal, you are valuable, who you are is valuable. I tend to disagree. So one of the things that I want you to take away from today is the same attitude that I have about myself here in front of you is the same attitude I want you to have when you're working with affluent clientele. Who you are, what you've done, is of very little importance when dealing with affluent clientele. What you can do for them, we've all heard what's in it for me. Never is it more true than dealing with the affluent, the rich, the wealthy, the haves versus the have-nots, whatever you want to call them. Okay, just to get a pulse of the room, who has been in the industry for less than a year? Anyone? Okay, no, raise them high, raise them high. We're not going to, okay, so let's give them our congratulations and condolences at the same time. In case you don't know, this is a roller coaster, but the great thing about a roller coaster is you only enjoy the roller coaster because of the ups and the downs, right? So you are definitely in for that. Who has been in the industry for less than 5 years? So between 1 and 5? Okay. Between 5 and 10, or 6 and 10? Okay. From 11 to 20? And more than 21 years. Okay, so what I am going to do, I want to give a good and effective, or lead a good and effective conversation, right? So good in the essence that when you guys are done with my time here, you guys will give me some type of ovation, seated or standing, I'm not picky, but effective in the point that when you leave here, you will have been impacted by what I say, what we share, and you'll take something today that you can implement later this evening, even if it's while you're having your martini. Okay, so we want something good and effective. Now, for those of you who have been in the industry for more than 10 years, I am going to ask you guys for your help, right? So that is something that I want to make sure you guys know. This is an interactive conversation. And the reason I have note cards is because I found that people of affluence, they don't care where you get your information as long as you have the information. I've had a couple of conversations this morning with agents who say, Neal, I'm here, I'm sitting in on your session because I want to do what you do, but I don't know if I can. I'm a first-generation realtor from Alabama who only speaks one language. If I can do it, you can do it, I promise. It is that simple. I was telling one agent that I was the not-so-smart kid in the smart class. So I was always smart enough to hang around smarter kids. So what does it mean to go beyond the velvet rope? Going beyond the velvet rope means that you are working with the affluent, the VIP. Who here is familiar with the VIP lines? Now, maybe you guys didn't go to the club last night, but you guys have seen the VIP lines or the express line anywhere and with the velvet rope? How many of you have wanted to be in that line, but instead you were standing in the general admission? I know that I have, right? Now, the purpose for today is to help you go beyond the velvet rope. So you're going to learn a lot of valuable content, not only from myself, but also from every presenter today. The only thing that I ask, and I'm going to ask this on behalf of the following presenters, is that you have an open mind, okay? Now, working with the affluent, 3 things that we're going to touch on. It's only 3. Oh, I forgot to tell you. As you guys see, I don't have visual aids. So if you thought you were going to get a robust amount of visual aids from me, I'm sorry to disappoint. I had them when I got in when I woke up this morning, but then I got dressed and I said, with a visual like this, who needs aid, right? So that is something that I wanted to share with you. So 3 things that we're going to talk about really quickly. The first thing is yourself. 3 things that you have to be conscious of to make it in the wealthy market, in the affluent market, or go beyond the velvet rope is yourself. The second is your market, and the third is your client. Now, Arena, she's going to talk a lot about the yourself part, following, branding yourself, branding your business. So we're not going to touch on that a lot, but I do want to make a couple of points or just bring things to your mind. The first thing is affluent individuals must buy you before they buy your service and then a home. Even more so now, I know that we hear it, okay, it's the same with every client, every customer. It's never more true than when dealing with people of affluence or affluence, depending on how you say tomato or tomato. Okay, so that's one thing that you want to be aware of. Now, something that I tell every agent that I teach, that I coach, or that I work with is that there is never a time that you as an agent, as a professional, who desires to work with the affluent, who desires to go beyond the velvet rope, it's never okay for you to let your guard down. You always must be ready. You must be ready at any moment if they see you anywhere they go. For instance, they told me, Neal, you're going to Key Largo, you can wear shorts, you can wear this. I don't know, because I never want to be in a position where I let my guard down, because I never know who I'm going to come in contact with walking across the resort. First thing, always be aware of yourself. Can you guys swim with sharks? Can anyone here swim with sharks? Now, I see some of you guys are like, okay, yes, maybe, I don't know. The minute, first of all, you guys probably like, I can't even swim. How am I going to swim with sharks? Okay, but going into the luxury market is a lot like swimming with sharks. At first thought, for instance, with the conversations I had this morning, they're thinking, I can't do that. I want to, but I can't. However, what if I told you that you would have a shark cage, right? Then what if I told you have chainmail on, and then you have a shark expert with you? And then on top of that, you would be swimming with whale sharks that don't even eat humans, right? Now, can you swim with sharks? Everyone say, nod your head, yes. So a lot of the things and the reasons we believe that we can't do something is because we don't have all the information, or because we're programmed over years and years that it can't be us. And then we look at the people who are smiling, going beyond the velvet rope, and we hate them, or we wish we were them, or we talk bad about them. When in essence, everyone in here has what it takes to go beyond the velvet rope. Once again, if I'm selling luxury, there's no reason why you guys cannot and should not be doing it. Okay, the first thing to learning to work with the affluent, I've already talked about appearance. I know that if you guys haven't, and this is a plug for my friend's book, if you guys do not have Realtor Branding by Arena, it talks a lot about appearance and packaging and making sure that you are your product. They must buy you first. And as I said, you can never let your guard down. I know that George and Raul, they're going to talk about phones, drones, and Matterport zones later. Phones are a big deal because of the social media times, right? Oh, okay. Okay, so that's even better. So that is one of the things, as a real estate professional looking to work in the affluent market, you must brand yourself and you must be where your clients are. There's nothing more powerful right now than video. leveraging yourself. And if you guys can, make sure you check out George and the 2 title class later on today. But make sure you guys check that out, because I know they're going to talk about leveraging video to be perceived as an expert. How many of you guys know that perception can be reality? Who here knows that? If you don't believe that, if you don't believe that perception can be reality, go out and do something that you believe is harmless, and let it be perceived in a negative way by your peers or the public, and see what happens. See what is accepted and what is not. The next thing is personality. So what I lack in good looks, I make up for in personality. If you guys do, I know you don't think I'm lacking in good looks. I mean, so I still have a lot of personality. What you guys will see in the affluent market, people buy personalities. People mesh with personalities. I only deal with a certain type of personality because I know that my reputation is important enough, or my reputation is so important that I can't let my personality that would conflict with another personality ruin my business. And all it takes is one bad review, one negative remark, or one negative testimony from an affluent clientele to sink your luxury business. And finally, the great equalizer is expertise. So it is, I've been told that I am perceived as an expert on the luxury market in the markets that I serve. The great thing is, every one of you can become an expert in your luxury market if there is a luxury market. I do want to make clear, not every market has a luxury market. In my hometown of Florala, Alabama, there are 1,700 people. We do not have a luxury market, right? So make that distinction absolutely up front. So you can be perceived as an expert, the great equalizer, you know, not even with the market or with yourself or with the client, but the great equalizer is knowing your stats, knowing the information. Because information does not lie. Numbers don't lie. We can bend them and we can make them say what we want to say, but they're not going to lie, especially if you are skilled with them. So your market. What is luxury? What's luxury? As I said, not every market has luxury, so there are different ideas or definitions of luxury. Would you guys agree? So some of them say, first time everyone says luxury, they think what? $1 million for a property, or they might say $1 million net worth. Is that with or without, you know, the value of the home? So what is luxury? That is something that each of you need to define for yourselves. Now, when I say define it for yourselves, that does not mean that you have to sit down for hours and hours on end and try to define what luxury is. That means that you do like I did, and you find smarter people that are already doing what you are doing, and you go and ask them. That means that you check the Florida Realtors stats. That means that you check your local board stats, and you see what the top 10% is usually a good number. So check the top 10% of sales in the area or in the market that you want to be in, and that's what your luxury cutoff is. Now, very seldom, or if ever, will a property under $500,000 be defined as luxury. Is that okay? Now, and we're getting that definition from the Institute of Luxury Home Marketing. If you guys are not familiar with that, I know that they have classes at all different boards, so I believe that is a fantastic and a valuable designation. Hold on, I forgot to tell you guys, so this is a little bit of inspiration, motivation, education, but there's also perspiration involved since I'm bald. So, see, don't do that. Okay. So I forgot, yeah, and my mom, she's a Baptist minister, so every now and then if I'm on video, and if I do that, I can send that to her and she'll be proud of me. So besides prices, luxury is mental. If you don't pick up anything else, understand that luxury is mental. We all know the people who have an air or a mental attitude like they are the top of the top and they're the most luxurious person and the most affluent person, when in reality, you say, ugh. Perfect example, Snooki. Right? So luxury is mental. Embrace that, understand that, and then use that in all of your presentations. That's the first step. So once you start thinking luxury, you become luxury, and that's when you can understand how the other side thinks. Because we know as you think you are. Do you guys agree? All right. What types of properties are in demand in the luxury market? What types of properties are in demand in the luxury market? Now, luxury buyers are buying a lot of commercial properties right now, especially commercial warehouse space, all this type of things. So that's what you want to find out. If your first inroads to the luxury market is going to be with buyers, think what are the types of properties that the luxury buyers are looking for? What types of luxury properties are on the market for sale? This goes back to knowing your market, knowing the information that's available to you and every other agent. So the difference between me and the majority of the agents in the markets that I serve is that they assume they know more than me. But in reality, I know more than them because I take the time, once again, the most valuable asset that we have, and we go through and we learn the stats, data, and information. Become familiar with terminology. Now, if I go to Alabama, and well, if you guys go to Alabama, okay, and we say finna, you guys know, well, you guys understand finna? You guys don't know finna? Okay, finna means about to, right? So you guys have to speak my terminology. So I'm finna go to the store. I'm finna go, okay? I'm finna, right? The same thing applies when you are working with affluent clientele. Butler's Pantry, the very first time, and I'm telling you guys this as a growing pain that I experienced myself. So the very first luxury property that I went to list, the guy said, here is our Butler's Pantry. No idea. The porte cochere, no idea. I thought it was a porta potty. A little bit different. So make sure you know the terminology. And everything that I'm giving you now, these are things that you can do and that you can pick up right now before you ever have that interaction with a person of affluence. So learning the terminology, knowing stats, knowing the types of properties, working on yourself is always more important. So now we're talking about the market. We're talking about becoming familiar with the terminology, not porta potty. And then these are a few key metrics that every agent must know in order to succeed in the affluent market. The first one is the median days on market. Now, I know we say that in every market. However, in the affluent market, when you're talking about listing periods of upwards of 2 years sometimes, but then you as a listing agent are signing listing agreements for a year, you're setting yourself up to fail. Especially when we've already come out of pocket for marketing expenses. I don't know if you guys are aware, selling luxury property is not like we see on TV. If you don't believe that, go to the Pinecrest neighborhood where there are 225 active properties right now and 4 of them sold last month or in April. It's not that easy as far as the days on market, the pricing, and all those skills. So make sure that you know the median days on market. That way when your client or your potential client comes and says, why would I do a 3-year listing agreement with you? You have data. You have something to dispute it other than, well, because you guys have heard this line, well, it's company policy, or because that's what I do, or just because. So those are a couple of things right there with the days on market. The next one is the absorption rate. Absorption rate or months of inventory, however you want to slice it. So those are 2, and the last one is going to be the assessment ratios. So we always hear list price to sales price ratio, right? Everyone's familiar with the list price to sales price ratio. The upper end, a lot of them are more concerned with assessment ratios than they are list price to sales price ratio. Do you guys know why? Because the only thing that the wealthy value more than time is money, in terms of money paid on taxes. Okay, and we'll talk about taxes a little bit later in a few moments when we talk about the client. So assessment ratio, if it is assessed at $1 million, and if it sells for 1.12, that means that the assessment ratio is 112%. Do you guys get that? So all of this information, you can find out assessment ratios, median days on market, and absorption rates online. Those are key things that you should know, and if you know those stats, you will be better than a vast majority of the same experienced agents working in an area. So anytime you go to a mixer or if you're getting ready to go to an event, a charity event, know those 3 stats and immediately you are perceived as an expert because you're already going to be dressed sharp, you're going to have your personality on tight, and then you are going to have the information and the expertise to be perceived as an expert. So that's median days on market, absorption rate, or the months of inventory, and then the assessment ratios, or if you want to do the list price to sales price ratio, that always works, or that also works. And the reason we look at the assessment ratios more so than the list price to sales price ratio, who here believes that listing agents overprice luxury properties just to get the listing? All the time, right? I mean, unfortunately, I've done it. But why do we do it? We do it to get the listing and then say, hey, we'll come down. We know what the assessment ratio, what the average assessment ratios are for the area. This is where we're going to go. All right? So those are 3 key stats that you want to know. Now, how do you break into, and this is what most of you want to know, how do you break into the luxury market? The first way is you preview properties. You preview every property that is on the market that's available. If they will give you access to it, you go look at it, you take photos of it if they allow you to, and you do what with the photos? You post them. Why? Because they're not coming from the MLS. Now, once again, make sure that they are okay with you taking the photos. So me, I do videos, and I say that I'm taking preview videos for my clients that I'm going to send. Now I don't post the videos for liability purposes. However, I will send them to clients that I am anticipating working with. Okay? Especially if they're out of state. Another way to break in, partner with experienced agents. I know that you guys do not believe that experienced agents will share their information or they will share the listings with you or the processes. The majority of them will. When I say the majority, there are very few agents that I have approached who have not been willing to assist me in some way. Now, the key is for me to give them an item of value or something of value. So will I accompany or will I open the properties for them? Yes, I will. Even if it's 30 minutes, 45 minutes away, yes, I will. That's how I got started. So if you ask, we have not because we ask not. If you guys ask and prepare yourself and you've already presented yourself professionally and then you have a knowledge base, most of the time they will be open to helping you. The easiest way to get in, to break in, is to, let me see, okay, I already passed that one. The easiest way to break in is to offer market reports, valuable market reports or newsletters. The wealthy, they still read. People still, do you guys believe that? So have you guys heard the saying that the bigger the house, the bigger the library? Right? And some people say the bigger the library, the bigger the house. But the majority of the time, they are reading. So if you give them an item of value, such as a newsletter with relevant information, we're not talking about giving them something that talks about the stuff that's happening on the other side of the velvet rope. We don't care. Newsletters that we care about, that we want to send anytime there's something going on with tax abatements or property abatements, anytime there's something that's going on with legislation that's going to affect their taxes, anything that changes the heir rights, such as how they can pass properties along to their heirs or corporate, like LLCs and trusts. That's the type of information that we want to send to our clients. Your client, who are the affluent? The affluent, they are us. They look like us. Most of the time they walk. Most of the time they talk. Every now and then they breathe. All right? That's who the affluent are. Now, where do we find them? I'm going to tell you guys where you can find a lot of them. You can find them everywhere you are that you have not been looking. For instance, a fantastic way. The first, I would say 15 affluent clients I had came from volunteer organizations, because I think last year, the majority of the affluent came from people who had made their own wealth. So the perception is, oh, well, it's been passed down through generations. Not anymore. So these are people who have worked their way up, they've made their own wealth, and now they are feeling philanthropic and they need to give back, right? So volunteer organizations, if you, like Rotary clubs, fantastic way. Kiwanis clubs. Mine, I go after, now be careful who you release this video to because my wife might see it. So I go after yoga moms. The yoga moms are the moms at the school who show up and drop their children off in the yoga outfit, and then they come back at 2 p.m. and pick their kids up in the yoga outfit. So we know what? We know they're not working, right? But we know that when they come, and they're coming in the 745 or the 750 or whatever, the latest cars, the Range Rovers, there's a way that they can afford that, right? So that is one way. Now, for me, what I intentionally do, and things that I want you guys to look at, instead of looking at them saying, oh, well, they're just one of the ones, they don't have to do this, they're here. Start to look at them in a different way. Start saying, hey, this is someone that I can make a connection with. The treasurer of our PTA, she is one of my clients, very well off, and she's at the school volunteering, I think 300 hours. She almost puts 300 hours in every month. That's more than we work. And when I say 300, I mean 300. Sweat break real quick. Okay, what do they value above all else? We already talked about time. So when you are talking and working with the affluent, put yourself ahead of everyone else. We like CMAs by the pound, but more important than CMAs by the pound is a thing called executive summaries. Most of the affluent, they value time. They're very concise. So executive summaries for everything that you do with them, whether it's an email, one sentence, bullet point, and then after the bullet point, you can type your email. When you present offers, don't say, well, here's the offer. You know, we go through all 12 pages plus the addenda, and then we send it to their attorney. No. Offer amount, the first thing actually should be what they're going to net, bottom line. And then you bullet point everything else, and we print that, and we deliver that on resume paper, because we as human beings, we are visual and textual people. So if you feel a texture of resume paper with the linen in it, these are little things that I'm telling you the majority of agents are not doing. Little keys that will have you put in an air above others. So we talked about the executive summary, and then where can you find them? We talked about the volunteer organizations, the schools, hobbies of the wealthy. Can anyone tell me what the hobbies of the wealthy are, since I'm already in the room with millionaires and aspiring millionaires? Can anyone tell me hobbies of the wealthy? Boating, flying, what? Golf, cars, boats, polo, equestrian activities. How many of you guys are subscribed to equestrian magazines? How many of you guys are subscribed to yachting magazines or boating magazines? Use that information, leverage that. Because once again, we talked about speaking their language, right? These are ways that, these are hobbies that they're interested in. Now, that does not mean that you have to participate. It just means that you need to be knowledgeable. And once you're perceived as an expert, because perception is what? Perception is reality. So make sure that you guys touch on those. One of the biggest things and most important that I can tell you is silence is golden. Fight the urge to sell and tell. Fight the urge to sell and tell. So the way that I've learned through all of my coaches and my mentors, I've learned the very first conversation that I have with my potential clients is, Mr. Seller, I value your confidentiality very much as my life. Nothing we say will leave this room unless you say it. And we leave it there. Once you put that out there, their guard goes down, because most of these people have people who are always coming after them. They have vultures lurking, right? Now, if they choose to disseminate information, if they choose to sell and tell, let that be for them. Now, we do want them to tell all of their friends how awesome we are. And what's the best way in with an affluent clientele? I'm going to give you guys a couple of gatekeepers that you need to reach out to this week. What's today, Thursday? You guys need to reach out to by Saturday. And I'll tell you guys a couple of tips on how to do that. The first one, tax advisors. We already talked about that. Estate attorneys, probate attorneys, financial planners, and then bank trust officers. So bank trust officers. If you guys don't know, some luxury properties are foreclosed on, but they go back to a bank trust officer. They need estimates of value. You want to make sure that you're giving them valuable content up until the point that they actually need you. Just make sure that you stay in front of them. Okay, you have to give value first. I know that we always say give, 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 and then you'll receive. You must give value first. And then with these gatekeepers, you must have friendly persistence. That means that you annoy the hell out of them until they tell you to leave, nicely. So friendly persistence. So I am almost up on time. Any questions? Well, first of all, thank you guys so much for that. Hopefully you guys got something that you guys can implement today or maybe tomorrow from this to take you guys from the general admission line to beyond the velvet rope. So any questions? And if there are, I have a couple of people that I will defer and deflect the answers or the questions to. You guys are awesome. Thank you guys.